But naturally, I was not here for Dynamite this week. And this was the week that Chris Jericho came back to TV. I figured we were getting at least one big return on this show in Winnipeg. It was either going to be Jericho or Mercedes Mone or both. Mercedes lost another championship the night before in Winnipeg. She lost her Winnipeg Pro Wrestling Women's title to Jody Threat after holding the title for 164 days, which meant that she was down to just 2 belts, technically 1 belt, since the Owen Hart belt is not actually defended. Outside of that, she had the APAC Women's Championship that she had beaten North Phoenix Diana for at the House of Glory show back in November. I called that match, and we sold quite a few tickets off of that match. It was the only one that she had left. And now, she doesn't have that anymore either. In her latest Monae magazine that she sends out to her fans, she announced that she has vacated the APAC Women's Championship, and here's why. She wrote the following. While I was in London, I had to make a tough call. I sent the Malaysia Championship back. My team and I really tried to make things work. We put the effort in, had the conversations, and explored every option. But at the end of the day, they told us that they didn't have the budget to fly me out and were not open to working with other promotions. For me, that just didn't align with the vision. So I made the decision to vacate the title. And look, this business isn't always easy. Not every partnership works out the way you hope. But I've learned to stand firm in my worth, my time, and what I bring to the table. Every title I hold means something. Every move I make has purpose. So even though it wasn't easy, it was necessary. Because growth sometimes means letting go. Trust me, I'm always moving forward. So her world tour came to an end with a whimper and a FedEx to Malaysia. I don't think that's the way most people envision that happening, but that's the way it worked out. So this has caused a minor controversy. Evidently, Winnipeg Pro Wrestling did some vague posting online about APAC Wrestling. This all caused Shaukat to respond. We had him on that same House of Glory show. I think he flew over with Noor Diana. He's the one who runs APAC Wrestling. He is considered the godfather of Malaysian pro wrestling. He took to social media this morning to push back on some of what Mercedes had to say and others have had to say. He said, I woke up on 3 hours of sleep to a flood of texts, tags, and questions. So let me say this clearly. I have nothing but respect for Mercedes Mone. She is a global star in high demand, and I understand that her schedule and travel limitations are real. I do not blame her for this situation, and I appreciate the opportunity that we had to work together. But the public narrative being pushed does not fully reflect what actually happened. We did try. We did explore working with other promotions because that was what was asked of us. I personally reached out, followed up, and tried to make multiple scenarios work. I also need to correct this clearly. I did not ask for other promotions to fly my wrestler in for us. I have the text and email receipts to back that up, and I am prepared to stand on that truth if necessary. I have chosen not to post private communications lightly because I still believe in handling business professionally, but I will protect my name when needed. For more context, I was even willing to go beyond our limits on my side. I openly said that I would take on extra work and secure sponsors to try to bring Mercedes to Malaysia. That ultimately was not workable, which I understand, so we were pushed to explore solutions abroad instead. I would have genuinely loved to have made something work with Arik in Poland and Hal in France. Both were respectful, professional, and tried to find real solutions. I appreciate both of them for that, but when we looked at the full picture, it simply did not make business sense financially for us. I also want to address Winnipeg Pro Wrestling. Our interaction was minimal. I reached out, was initially ignored, and only received a single response declining based on budget and their story direction, which I respected. That was the extent of it. So the public version being pushed does not reflect my actual communication with them. Again, I have receipts for that. I am not here to tear anyone down or create more drama. To Mercedes, I sincerely apologize for any public discomfort this has caused. I still have respect for you, and I understand that you are likely speaking from what was communicated to you. Woke up to a flood of tags, so here's the truth. We tried. We reached out to other promotions. We did not ask anyone to fly our talent in. I have receipts. I even tried to make Malaysia work. End result, North Phoenix Diana did not get closure. Just truth. And then in the comments, somebody asked him, since she dropped her title at a House of Glory show, why not fly her back out to win it back at a House of Glory show? And Shoucott responded, "Thank you for asking. We would have loved to have worked with Brian," talking about Brian XL. And HOG again, "They were great to us. But for something like this to happen, it needs alignment on timing, availability, and business logistics on all sides. Unfortunately, it just did not line up this time." I will say they were all very nice and easy to work with back in November. As he said, it just sounds more like a matter of logistics than anything else. I think this is all much ado about nothing, personally. It's a small promotion. They don't have a lot of funds. And even if funds were not the issue in flying Diana back over here, my guess, and this is just my opinion here, my guess is that Mercedes is clearly on her way back to AEW television very soon to pick up with whatever her story is going to be. And that story only works if she has lost all of her titles. And so in the limited amount of time that's left to make a match like that happen, there just wasn't an opportunity to do so in a timely fashion. That's my thought. That's my read on this. We got lucky where the stars just aligned perfectly to get the match done in HOG. And it sucks that Diana never got her win back, which I imagine would have been the end goal here, but it just didn't work out. Mercedes clearly has no issue losing her belts back to all of these people. She had 13 titles at one point. She dropped them all flat on her back. It just sucks that it ended in such an anticlimactic way. But what this means is that she should be on her way back to AEW television imminently. And with Toni Storm gone for the foreseeable future, which was not the plan, but this is the cards that have been dealt to them, I think she's the one to take that title from Tekla this summer, which would mean that she would win the Owen for the second straight year, though. And so that I'm not sure of. Do they have her win the Owen for, the second straight year? Or she could win the Casino Gauntlet and she could win the title at a later date, because the new rule is that you have to give at least 1 week's notice if you want to cash that briefcase in. That's the rule they established with MJF. I assume it applies to the ladies as well. So, there's multiple pathways for her to get to the World Championship. But given that she challenged for it twice, she lost twice, this is the crash out, she's lost all of her other belts, she's hit rock bottom. The story that makes sense is for her to build herself back up and eventually win the world title. Whether it happens at Wembley or not, I guess in the big picture, it doesn't really matter. I would just assume, though, that that's the place where they would want to do it. And if that's the case, she would have to win the Owen.